evening, everyone. As the President of the Board of Trustees of the Monroe Public Library, I've determined that it is prudent to meet virtually due to COVID-19. And with that start, we'll go ahead and start with our roll call. JD, if you would be so kind.
Yes, sir. Jess Ray.
Present.
Rogel.
Present.
JD Davis. Present. Caitlin Trunnell.
Present.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Present.
Linda Lane.
Present.
Beth Robb.
Present.
Okay, thank you all so much. So today's agenda, review of the agenda, any corrections or additions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the approval minutes of the previous meeting. Would someone like to move to approve our last minutes?
I'll move to approve. Or
And
Jim
do we-
can.
Caitlin has moved to approve. Do we have a second then? Oh boy, that's a tough one. I saw two hands go up both at the same time there. I'm going to give it to Aaron, just because she was the one I saw first. So, but Jim, yours was right in there with her. All right. So, JD, if you'd like to call the vote.
Yeah, please holler if I have not pronounced your name correctly. Jess Ray.
Aye.
Jim Rogel.
Aye.
JD Davis. Aye. Caitlin Trunnell.
Aye.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Aye.
Linda Lane.
I'm going to abstain since I was not at that meeting.
Beth Robb.
Sorry, I'll abstain as well.
Okay, I believe that's everyone. The ayes have it, so we will move to our next item on the agenda tonight, and that would be approval of expenditures. Would someone like to move to approve expenditures? For our new trustees, this is a monthly action in which we take a look at what the library has spent on both operations and personnel. Typically, for expediency's sake, we put both of those into the same motion. It doesn't have to be that way. That just happens to be historically what we've done. Feel free at any time if you have questions about expenditures, certainly to ask. And Brian is always good about explaining things that we look and see and like, well, what did we do there? And he is often good with a ready answer. So now that I've given that long-winded explanation, sorry, would someone like to move to approve our expenditures?
Move to approve.
Okay. Would you like to have that move to approve as presented?
Yes, thank you.
And did we have a second?
I will second.
Linda, we'll get you because you are new, and Jim was just a fraction slower yet again, and I'm picking on Jim tonight. So we've got that. We go ahead and call for the vote. JD, if you would please do so.
All right, Jess Ray.
Aye.
Jim Rogel.
Aye.
JD Davis. Aye. Caitlin Trunnell.
Aye.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Aye.
Linda Lane.
Aye.
Beth Robb.
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you all, everyone. We have moved to approve the expenditures. We'll now go into the President's report, which shall be brief. I'd just like to thank, of course, as always, the staff at NPL and our patrons for their continuing support during this unique and interesting time that we've been in. And of course, I'd like to welcome both Linda and Beth to the board, and very excited to have you both with us and looking forward to working with you. As I said, I was going to keep it brief, so I will keep to my word, and then I will now move on to public comment, which I don't believe we have anyone scheduled for public comment, but I'll double check. John, Brian, do we have anyone?
We do not.
Okay. Hearing none, moving on to our next agenda item, which would be the ever popular and the most important part as the library director's report, where we hear from Brian all the news, print, and all the things we need to know, and all the exciting stuff he is going to provide and share with us this evening. So Brian, take it away.
All right, thank you. So Linda and Beth, just a reminder, so in the packet is my report, so I'm happy to answer any questions about that at any time. In addition to that, and I'll go over that here in a bit, just wanted to share, we are in the midst of a lot of new staff hiring and training, so you'll see a lot of new faces around the library. We're also seeing a lot of returning patrons, which is exciting. So if we look back where we were a year ago compared to now, it feels very good to see all these new faces, new hires and patrons coming back to the library. So it feels like a great situation. My report, just an FYI, the expenses in number 1 in my report, I put the numbers for both the bills and the payroll, so those numbers are always there if you need them. Circulation is climbing back up to where we were pre-COVID, which is very exciting and surprising, so that's phenomenal. The Illinois Public Library Annual Report has been submitted. The restrooms are complete. And we're having some very minor issues with doors. We have 2 contractors coming to battle that out, hopefully tomorrow. What we found is the doors are, they're fit very tight, and when the humidity and temperatures are just right, they're sticking just enough to not quite function properly. So we want them to function properly. Digital Network Access Grant, we received the check for that. So that's a $10,000 award, and that was the maximum award there. Just a reminder, that is it was to assess our Wi-Fi both inside the building and outside the building, and then also improve that. So that the improvement portion is on hold due to our abatement project. More on that later. Lighting grant, another great project, another project on hold for the abatement, unfortunately. Ongoing used book sale continues to be popular. We will have a small used book sale at Distill from 10 to 3 on Sunday, June 13th. That's part of the farmers market out there. So we're putting together, just pulling items to have hopefully a nice sale out there. And the foundation is running that. So look forward to them owning that event and putting that on. New shelving that we discussed last month has been ordered. Unfortunately, there was an 18.25% steel surcharge. So the way that we worked that out was we agreed to do the installation with a lot of support remotely from the vendor who we know and we've worked with before. And that essentially took care of that steel surcharge. So we feel okay about that. Excuse me, the abatement project. Met with 2 architects from Studio GC, the town director of facilities and energy management, and an environmental engineer. A lot of questions there, just as an example, what do we do about, inaccessible places basically in the ceiling where, like 2 steel beams are next to each other and there's fireproofing sprayed between them. You can't physically get to it. There are a variety of ways to remove the material. It can be hand scraping, blasting it out basically. What about ductwork? Do you have to remove ductwork if it's on there? What about conduit that's full of, a lot of wiring? What about overspray on drywall? So where we are right now is honing in on the scope of this project. It's, is it we're going to remove every last trace of asbestos in the facility? If so, that's very difficult to do, given some of those examples I just shared, versus trying to get as much as we can that's fairly easily accessible. Related, we've determined that all the ceiling panels, the ceiling tiles go away. Likely the ceiling grid will not be in condition to be reused after all the on ladders, banging around, scraping, etc. Lighting we're discussing right now. We have this grant to do a nice LED conversion, but we're asking the question if we're going to take out the ceiling grid and the lights and everything, and the lights are essentially 50 years old in this half of the building. Does it make sense to go ahead and install new lighting? So we're having that discussion, putting numbers to that right now. The architects are finishing up. They're completing their drawings of current conditions. Hoping to have that complete by next week. By the time this board meets in June, we should have the scope finalized, some cost estimates. If there are different possible ways to go, we should have those defined by that point. That same group will get together 2 weeks from now on site here. And we're going to keep moving it forward. It is potentially a huge project. Again, that's if we go down the road, if we're going to get every last bit of it, that's a giant project. So determining the scope is very important, and we want to be very careful because we want to solve this issue as much as possible in a way that keeps everyone safe, obviously, and also allows us to work up in the ceiling when we need to. So it's tricky, and it could be a big number. So we're hoping to design the best solution that's affordable. I asked questions about supply chain, potential supply chain issues. Can we get ceiling tile? Yes. Can we get ceiling grid? Yes. Are lights easy to get? Yes. So that's good news. Those items, at least at the moment, aren't seeing some of the challenges like trying to get 2x4s, for example. So that's a good thing. Hopefully that continues. In terms of timeline, I would anticipate that just because of where we are now in the process, and given that we're almost to June, that we'd be looking at fall for this work. So that's what I would anticipate in terms of timeline right now. That's all I know at the moment. Happy to answer any questions on that. No good news, really. Linda?
Brian, will the library have to be closed during all of this, or how will that affect patrons?
That's one of it's on our list. Is it a phased project, or is it we close the library down and just go for it? So it depends. It's relative to the scope, I think. So my assumption is, for the sake of planning safely, that we will be closed. So we just don't know how long that would be. The main reason I think we'd be closed is because all of this work is on the same side of the building where our entries are and our elevator is. So if we were open without, we'd only have the west emergency exit open with no elevator if all that was out of commission. But there are questions now about phasing. One thing I should throw out there too is we backed up and said, are there ways around this project, in any regard? Like if running the Ethernet, for example, if that's the main goal, can we run Ethernet without getting in the ceiling? Yes, we can. You can do external raceways, for example. That's a very short-term solution, and it doesn't solve the need to get up in the ceiling to access HVAC, electrical, etc. So we are exploring, continuing to identify, is there any way to not do this, basically? But the pretty quick answer was this needs to be done, and we would like to eliminate this issue as much as possible. So we talked about encapsulation. If most of it is somewhat accessible, and we can get rid of 90% of it, then maybe we look at encapsulation for the remaining 10% that we couldn't physically remove, and that buys us some time on that maybe. So in the end, we'll have some type of hybrid solution, I think. Yeah, but I do anticipate the library will be closed, just not sure how long. Again, that's relative to specifically, our objectives here. So, any other questions on that? And we have a new staff member joining us. Carrie Garman starts next Tuesday, June 1st. A lot of great experience in Central Illinois libraries. I think staff are really going to enjoy working with Carrie, and I think she's going to be a phenomenal addition to our team. Summer reading program begins very soon, next Tuesday, June 1st, which is amazing to me. Seems like we just started 2021. So again, we look forward to seeing participants this year. It's different than last year because you can come in the library now, which is great, but it's not like it was pre-COVID. So we're heading the right direction again. So we look forward to this next step in getting back to normal. There is an update to the RSA CAP mobile app. So if you use that, once you log in, you'll see a new interface that's branded for Normal Public Library. So if you haven't tried that yet, please do. Let me know of any questions. John, Jennifer, Emily, and Laura all worked on that, so appreciate their efforts there. Welcome to Beth and Linda. I've unintentionally overwhelmed them with lots of information already, so I assured them that you would all help them, so thanks in advance for your help. They're doing a great job, and I think they're going to be great additions to our board. Later in the agenda, we'll talk about trustee officer roles. So I included the piece from the board bylaws in my report here. So just a reminder, per the bylaws, there's a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. In terms of the statutes, I believe what's required is a president and a secretary. But historically, we've done all 4 positions. Meeting schedule, that is, I think, the most exciting topic of the night, because there are Tuesdays and Thursdays sound good in general, but there's beyond that, it gets a little bit tricky. So I look forward to everyone. We'll find a day and a time, I'm sure. So that'll be interesting. And just a reminder there, we're just trying to find a time that's easily accessible to the public to join if they'd like to, and one that we can predict out through May 2023, so that we can share that schedule with the media, the public, etc. Again, another item on the agenda coming up, trustee appointment opportunities. So I just, defined those opportunities, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about those either now or once we get to that point in the agenda. The Advocacy Committee is fairly new, and I believe Caitlin is the entire committee at the moment, looking for a co-participant there. And the goal there is just engage and communicate with constituents and elected officials to ensure the future success of NPL. Library Planning Committee meets quarterly now, and JD is currently on that committee. 2 Npl trustees, 2 town council members, city manager, and myself, talking about possible solutions to the library's space challenge. And then finally, the liaison to the Npl Foundation, and the foundation bylaws allow for up to 2 elected trustees to serve in that role. We've had 1 historically, which has worked well. So that's a non-voting ex officio position. And Pam Lewis served in that role in the past, so that position is open. And currently the foundation meets every other month. That's all I had in my packet. I'll add real quick that we're seeing a lot of grant opportunities come up. Federal opportunities. State Farm announced a State Farm Neighborhood Assist grant that's up to $25,000. Honestly, the challenge right now is trying to identify, kind of where to invest our time and efforts, where do we go? So just real quickly, we've talked about how can we maybe help solve some technology access issues in the community as we look at this grant funding, and trying to balance that among Unit 5 and everyone else. What's our role? So that's where we're aiming at the moment. Happy for any suggestions or comments you might have. We participated in the PCs for People event a couple weeks ago, and you could see the community need for affordable technology there. So that's where we're aiming at the moment. And again, happy for any board input there in terms of the grants. So any questions on any of those items?
I just wanted to throw out there that I think the Wi-Fi extension out into the parking lot is going to be enormously popular.
Yeah.
I had 2 people in the last month and a half, parents who are going back to grad school, ask me about that.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at where can they go away from their children to do their classes online that has Wi-Fi, but they don't have to buy anything.
Yeah. That's great to hear.
Yeah, if you're going to have a parking lot full of parents in their cars on Zoom classes.
Yeah, that's better than sitting on the air conditioners, which we may have had. All that equipment is in the building. I mean, it's right here, and it's that, just so you all are aware, that's that abatement project. We have to get in the ceiling to run that Ethernet to feed that. But yeah, that's great to hear. Appreciate that.
Any further questions for Brian? Well, thank you very much, Brian. Next on the agenda is an update from Foundation. As Brian said, our person who did that is no longer on the board, Pam. And Brian did mention about the upcoming, I don't know about you all, but I think locally sourced tomatoes and upcycled, reduce, reuse books is a good combination there on the 13th. So there's a win. But anything else that you'd like to add about what's going on with the Foundation?
No, I don't think so. Just a reminder, the Foundation hired their first ever development coordinator, and he is leaving us at the end of June, heading back near family, heading north, northern Wisconsin, Minnesota area. So we are determining, what's the right next step for the Foundation in terms of that role. trying to balance how do we optimize the foundation in a way that they can sustain financially moving forward. So, and a reminder there, the main operating revenues for the foundation were the larger book sales. So those aren't happening at the moment. So we're in an interesting time in trying to define what's the next pattern, or how do we move forward in terms of the foundation. So,
Are they looking to replace someone in that position or leave it open?
yeah, yes, I think so. And you know, the challenge, I think, is it's a halftime role in that person are actually, the relationship is as a consultant for the foundation. And I think that we've done a lot of infrastructure, in the last 9 months or so. And now I think we're likely to the point where now that the infrastructure is in place and built in a way it can be sustained, it might be a different type of role, this next phase, more of that kind of relationship, out and about, more promoting the library, which couldn't be done in a lot of ways during the pandemic, obviously. But I think the nature of the role changes a little bit, just given where the foundation is now. It's a good thing, I think, but a different role to some extent.
Any other questions about foundation? Hearing none, we'll move. Caitlin, anything that you would like to share, being the sole advocacy person at this point in time, other than you would like someone to join you? Anything you'd like to add?
I don't have anything that I would like to add. I think that there's some interest in maybe somebody helping me out, but I will hold off on that until we move into where we decide who is on what committee.
All right, thank you so much. So according to our agenda, we are now moving into the exciting part, our new business, which has action and discussion items. First being action item is election of officers. Before we go right into that, as Brian mentioned, we by statute are required to have a president and secretary. Remind me again, in our bylaws, do we require all four? So we need to amend the bylaws for
Yes.
VP and, okay.
Yeah, if the board wished to change the bylaws, you have to maintain the two that are statutorily required, but per the bylaws, the four positions.
So with that in mind, we may want to revisit that particular makeup. As some of you probably already recognize, the treasurer position, for example, does not have a lot of particular work or anything on that end. So at one point, the board did have some things for the treasurer to do that really has changed over time. So that's a discussion for a different day on that. We will have, instead, we'll go through the elections. We have four positions. So I would like to start first by opening up nominations for president. And then depending on how that goes, then there may be a changeover and someone else might be going through the rest of the agenda.
I'd like to nominate Jess Ray.
I would second that.
Do we have anyone else that would like to be nominated or to step forward to be considered? Well, we have a first and a second. I'm going to go ahead and close the nominations then, hearing no other nominations.
I'll be the secretary. Who seconded?
I did, JD, Linda.
Sorry, JD, I didn't say that out loud as that was happening. My apologies.
Thank you. Okay.
So JD, if you would be so kind to call the roll.
All right. Jess Ray.
I'm going to abstain.
Jim Rogel.
Yes.
JD Davis, yes. Caitlin Trunnell.
Yes.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Yes.
Linda Lane.
Yes.
Beth Rob.
Yes.
Well, thank you all very much. I will continue on to our next position, which is vice president. Would someone like to nominate someone for the vice president position? And don't all speak at once.
I nominate Jim Rogel.
Second.
All right. Do we have a first second? Do we have any other nominations?
I didn't even
Aaron.
ask. I don't even know if he's happy about that.
You'll notice I didn't ask Jim if he could back out.
Yeah.
He
He's
doesn't have to
smiling.
be secretary now.
Oh, that's true. Hold on.
Jim, are you willing to accept?
Sure.
All right. Hearing no other nominations, we'll go ahead and close the nominations. JD, if you'd be so kind as to call the vote.
All rapid fire. Hold on. All right. Jess Ray.
Aye.
Jim Rogel. JD Davis. Aye. Caitlin Trunnell.
Aye.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Aye.
Linda Lane.
Aye.
Beth Rob.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Congratulations, Jim. Thank you for being willing to serve. Now we'll go into the actual most important position. And I'm not just saying it to butter up the person who's currently in it, but I'm certainly hoping that she's willing to serve yet again. Open up nominations for the position of secretary. And I'm happy to nominate JD Davis. If there is a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah.
JD, I guess we should check. JD, are you willing to continue serving?
And are you muting me? So that I can't, is that?
Wait, somebody mute her.
Unfortunately, John has that power. Otherwise,
John, you're on my side. No, I do accept. Thank you. I will be nominated.
okay. And are there any further nominations after we have just strong-armed JD? Okay. Hearing none, JD, would you please be so kind as to call the vote for the current position you are serving in and you've been nominated for? Not that that is awkward.
It's not awkward. Just Ray.
Aye.
Jim Rogel.
Aye.
JD Davis. I will abstain. Caitlin Trunnell.
Aye.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Aye.
Linda Lane.
Aye.
Beth Rob.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Thank you, JD. We appreciate it. And as I said before, and with all due seriousness, it is a very important job, and JD does an excellent job. And for that, we are all very grateful. Thank you so much. Now moving on to the position of treasurer. The good news, as I had mentioned earlier, this is a position that we might want to take a look at. But in terms of nominations, it is a wonderful opportunity because it is not a onerous position to take right now. So hopefully that helps sell that. So would someone like to be either nominate themselves or be nominated for the position of treasurer? Aaron, would you like to nominate or self-nominate?
I will allow myself to be nominated if anybody really doesn't want to do it.
We have a first here. Do we have a second for Aaron as
Second.
treasurer?
Second.
Thank you, Beth. We have a two. Do we have any further nominations? Hearing none and not letting Aaron get a chance to back out of this, we'll go right to the vote. JD.
Okay, hold on. Just Ray.
Aye.
Jim Rogel.
Aye.
JD Davis. Aye. Caitlin Trunnell.
Aye.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Abstain.
Linda Lane.
Aye.
Beth Rob.
Aye.
And there we go.
And this is a historic moment because I believe this is our first election via Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
So we are all part of history tonight. Congratulations. So, which is interesting because usually there's always a little bit of arm twisting sometimes to go with some nominations, and it's easier when you can actually look across the table at someone than at a screen. It's much easier to hide behind the screen. So thank you all, everyone. Now, the next item, that action item, is now complete on our agenda. So our next new business is the schedule of board meetings. Brian mentioned that folks got back, and looks like Tuesdays and Thursdays are possibilities. Brian, anything else you want to share in that?
I appreciate the input everyone shared. So, yeah, it is, for the most part, Tuesdays and Thursdays were good. Having said that, there are Tuesdays and Thursdays that do not work. So I think it's great that we're all here, and anything works for me in the library from our perspective. So again, the meeting just has to be in an accessible location and held at an accessible time. So those are the parameters that we're going for. In your packet, the last page and the next to last page, I just presented how different scenarios might look. So one idea was in gray, I put the last Wednesday of the month. That's the schedule that we're on now. We've been on it for a while. I just did that as a baseline just so you could see how that would look. Green represents the last Tuesday. There was, I think there was a challenge for at least one board member with that, but it was doable. So I put that on there. And then the next to last Tuesday, I think was okay for everyone, but I'm not certain. And then the next to last Thursday was good for most. The last Thursday is not good, if I remember correctly. But I think Linda mentioned just tonight that the fourth Thursday for her would not be good. That would be a conflict. So knowing that Thursday's work, we'd be looking at the first through third Thursday, if I'm remembering everyone's variables correctly. But then there's also the earlier Tuesdays as well. So.
So it sounds as though, I know, and just kind of a quick check of the room with everyone here. Looks like maybe perhaps Thursdays is the stronger opening. I know, does that sound about, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of difference in there.
Just for the sake of asking, Jess, I just maybe confirm there's a desire to go away from the current schedule.
That's a good point.
Just to throw it out there.
Yeah. Traditionally, we meet Wednesdays. Do we want to continue on that route, or do people feel that a Tuesday or Thursday would be a better option?
The conflict for me is actually more the last week of the month.
Oh.
Like I'd spend Monday and Tuesday prepping for a last Tuesday of the month board meeting last night. So by the time Wednesday evening rolls around, you get what's left.
So really it would be, if it were the third Wednesday of the month, that would be doable for you.
Yeah.
Does that work out better for everyone else?
Fine for me.
Okay, Jem, I see your head shaking. Caitlin, does that third Wednesday work for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible so long as we keep it at like 5:30 or
Sure.
after.
I wouldn't
JD?
have left at 6 o'clock.
Sorry, JD, can't hear you.
Yeah, it's good for me. I literally had that one conflict next month with as you can see, my run hard, turn left jersey that I have on right now. Because I have one last game that it'll conflict with, but we have a doubleheader tonight if anybody's coming out.
Beth?
So.
You're talking now the third Wednesday of the month?
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be a problem. It may be a problem this month because of my remapping obligations, but I don't know yet. But other than that, I don't have a problem.
And then Aaron, you said that 6 o'clock might work better.
A little bit, but I mean, not so much that it would keep me from showing up.
Okay.
Just
Go ahead,
next
Brian.
question. Just for the sake of putting this out there, I heard, just sharing what so sometimes I heard that, the third date or would or would not work, or the versus like the next to last or the last. So just for the distinction, we're talking about the third and not the next to last, just to be clear, right? So
The third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, yes, right, sometimes it gets a little bit. Well, why don't we go ahead? Would someone like to make a motion that would be the route that we continue going forward on, so that Brian can do the calendar?
I will move that we move to the third Wednesday of each month for the trustee meeting.
And did we want to keep it 5:30 or at 6? 5:30? Was that a head nod or a 6? Sorry.
Doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that we specify the time.
let's go ahead and we can always revisit if this becomes, again, even though we're trying to get out ahead for a longer period. If we find there's an issue, we can always readjust. I know one of the things is to try and make sure that we have meetings that people can attend in the public. Given that we haven't seen a waterfall of attendance or people asking to attend, that hasn't been a problem recently. So I 6 o'clock sound good? Linda, would you be comfortable as adding that?
I will. I propose that we meet the third Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Aaron. And Jim, you were so close. So close on that. All right. So, JD, if you would be so kind as to call the roll.
Jess Ray,
Aye.
Jim Rogal,
Aye.
AD Davis, aye. Caitlin Trunnell,
Aye.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric,
Aye.
Linda Lane,
Aye.
Beth Rob.
Aye.
And Linda and Beth, I should point out that, as you can see, when it comes to making motions, we'll sometimes throw some friendly amendments without having to go through the whole, textbook Robert's rules. But as a smaller group, we find that usually is okay. We're able to continue to do our business as we need to. So, thank you all so much for that. That's another item on our action list that we can now move off of. And I apologize, I got to get back to my agenda here, make sure that I get us covered.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to throw out there, so we're looking at June 16th is the next meeting, just so everyone has that date on
Thank you.
And I'll send all the dates to everyone.
Thank you so much, Brian. All right, next item on our agenda, which is also the action item, which is committee appointments. So as Brian pointed out, we have the advocacy, we have the foundation, the library planning. Am I forgetting anything? I think that's the three committees that we have currently standing. If we find that we need others, we certainly can do that. At this point, I'm going to ask, I'll just go down the line and ask for, to see if we have people who are willing to send. I'm going to start first with the advocacy. And do we have individuals who are willing to serve on advocacy?
I would be too.
Okay, so we have three on that. So I'm going to put a pin in that one for just a moment. We're going to come back around before we do any actual action item here. Library planning. Do we have individuals who are interested? We've got two for that. And then foundation. Do we have Aaron is interested in foundation? All right. So Brian, if you could remind me with the advocacy, if we have three, we just have to be careful about Open Meeting Act, if I remember correctly, correct?
Yeah, so majority of a quorum for this group is 3. So that introduces it as a public meeting. So we have to post it, have an agenda, have minutes. So the intent typically has been to have a committee of 2. So then that is free of the minutes, posting, etc. We can do it. We can do it. I just have to. It's a more formal process, is all.
So what I would like to suggest is, since we go ahead, Caitlin. I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I have enough on my plate. If Linda and Beth want to jump in on this, that's perfectly fine.
There we go.
Well, we may need some guidance.
Oh, I'm always available via email. Just shoot me a message, and then we don't have to do the whole meetings thing. But I'm happy to take something off my plate to be able to breathe a little bit more. Disaster has been a hot topic this year.
The cross has been hot.
So you're going to entrust 2 newbies to the advocacy, huh?
Well, I'm going to point out that you both have been very good advocates already because you became elected to the board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm happy to help in any way.
We're a new committee, and so we don't even know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is an opportunity to help sort of grow this as a committee and through the concepts of what we think of being advocacy.
Okay.
So, all right. So with that, I think in this particular case, I'm trying to remember the rules on this. With committee work, if I remember the bylaws, as the chair, the action item is me placing folks in the committee as opposed to doing the nomination process and voting.
Yeah, so it's Article 3, Section 5 indicates the president shall name committees.
So we have named the committees in our action item tonight, and we have placed our folks on those committees. And I believe we have met all the requirements on that action item there. Look at that. And that means that JD doesn't have to do another roll call vote. I like to keep you, have a break every now and then, JD. All right, so the next item is the most exciting part, and that is the introduction of our newly elected trustees. So, Brian, as you had the opportunity to work with both of our new trustees, would you like to take it from here?
I'd be happy to. So I'm very, very honored to have Beth and Linda both join us, and I spoke to them before the election, which seems like a long time ago, as they considered this opportunity, and I've gotten to know them both, throughout that process and through our orientation, and I think they'll do wonderful work, and I'm happy to support them. I assured them that we would all help them any way we could as they, get used to this role. And I'm very glad they're in that advocacy committee together, because it's a very, very important group, and I really will. I'll help in however I can with that group, and that's really how we move forward. I think we've talked a lot about advocacy, both with the library board and the foundation board. It's how we move forward, I think, in a big way in terms of facility, et cetera. Keeping our funding where it should be for the community. So a very, very important role, and I think a lot of good things will grow from that. And I'm also certain this whole group will help with that advocacy work, as will others in the community. So I'm excited for that. Both Beth and Linda have a lot of decades of wonderful experience in this community in different ways, and I think they have a lot to contribute to the board and the library and the community. And I thought if we could just allow them each an opportunity to talk about their background and their interest in the board, that would be great. And then maybe the rest of us could share too, for their sake.
Okay. So we'll go ahead, and because I have actually known Linda from other experiences, not to pick on Beth here as the other, but since I know one a little bit the other, I'm going to shift over to Linda first and say, Linda, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Yes, I worked with Jess a lot on graduation ceremonies at ISU. He does a stellar job in organizing that massive event. I am a happily retired teacher. I graduated from ISU in 1966 with a degree in French and Russian. I did teach French for a couple of years in suburban Chicago. I was born in Chicago, reared in Libertyville, which is a northern suburb. My first teaching job was in Palatine, Illinois. Then married a man from McLean, Illinois, and I'm Linda Lane. My maiden name and my married name are the same. So I'm Linda Lane, and I moved to McLean and started teaching in the Olympia School District in 1968. And I officially retired. I taught fourth grade for 3 years, and then I moved to the high school and taught English and served as department chair for English and foreign language. I directed theater. I was the president of our Teachers Association for about 15 years, one of those jobs that just, nobody wants and keeps rolling forward. I served on the ISU alumni board for 37 years, served as president for 2 years, held all the offices there, served 2 years on the foundation board there. And after I retired in 2015, I did substitute up through 2019. And then when COVID hit, I decided I was not going to substitute anymore. So the only thing I do now is I help Olympia when they give AP tests. I proctor AP tests for the school district. Other than that, I'm retired, but now I'm on this board. I serve on the Illinois Symphony Orchestra Guild Board and also the board for the Evergreen Villas Association where I live. So I'm trying to keep busy.
Thank you so much, Linda. I will say that I have not had an opportunity to talk with Judge Robb before now, but I was very excited to hear, as I'm listening to NPR on our local WGLT station, how actively she's already involved and continues to be involved in our community as she's part of the district mapping. So that's my little segue into letting Beth tell us a little bit about herself.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you and working on the board with you. I grew up in Macomb. I came to Illinois Wesleyan. I graduated in 1978, went to Loyola Law School in Chicago. I had met my husband when I was in college, and after a whirlwind 7-year courtship, we finally married, and I came back to Bloomington Normal. I practiced law for 11 years. I served, I actually was a partner with Charlie Reinert, and I know he's involved in the Library Foundation. I became a judge. I was an associate judge in 1993. I ran for circuit judge in the 11th Circuit, which is 5 counties. In 2000, and I retired at the end of 2014. I served 10 years as the chief judge of the circuit. I served as the Conference of Chief Judges of the state of Illinois, vice chair and chair. I still serve on a Supreme Court committee that certifies specialty courts, which include the drug courts, the mental health courts, and the veterans courts in the state of Illinois. When I retired, I became the chair of the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, which is one of the repositories for criminal information throughout the state. And so I served, and that's a governor appointment. I served in that capacity for 4 years. I served on the governor's Sentence Reform Commission. I was appointed by Governor Ronner, and I was happy to see that finally a lot of our recommendations were enacted this past year by the state legislature. I currently serve on the Character and Fitness Committee for the 4th District of Illinois, which is changing, it appears, if you read your paper today, but that reviews the applicants for the bar in Illinois. I volunteer for the Immigration Project, which assists immigrants. I do some pro bono work for them. I also serve as chair of the Women to Women Steering Committee, which is a giving circle within the Illinois Prairie Community Foundation and serves 4 counties in central Illinois. And now I'm one of the people involved in this map redistricting project. So once June's over, I'll have a little more time.
From that report, it does sound like you have your work cut out for you. There's a lot going on in that short amount of time.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and give you a chance to meet some of the folks here. So we'll go around, and I'm going to start with Jim, since I've been picking on Jim this entire time and not letting him, move on anything. So Jim, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Jim Rogal. I've been on the board for 2 years. Growing up, we lived here. We lived in Normal when I was in elementary school and junior high. My dad taught at ISU, was an English professor. When you don't make tenure, it's kind of like being in the Army. So every few years we moved. So born in upstate New York, lived in Mississippi, lived here in Normal. He eventually ended up at Illinois Valley Community College in LaSalle, where I went to high school. Went to Springfield for college and then stayed for 23 years. Got my bachelor's and master's degree there, and then worked 10 years for the General Assembly, for the Senate President's Office, 6 years for the Department of Corrections. And then when administrations changed and employment changed, we moved back up here to McLean County to be closer to family, and I took a job with the Laborers Union up here, and have been doing that ever since. We have 5 children. We also homeschool. You'll see videos or or clips of them playing violin, piano, you name it. They seem to do everything. So, and every now and then you'll see backgrounds from Ethiopia. 3 of our children are adopted from Ethiopia. So I think that kind of sums up most of my life right there.
Thank you, Jim. So, Aaron, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'm boring by comparison. I'm originally from the cornfields surrounding Shinoa, so I did not make it that far. I came down to Bloomington to go to ISU, double majored in nursing and Spanish language. Did some time in cardiac nursing in Peoria, just a little too exciting. And then decided I'd find out what weekends were and took a position at the health department here in Bloomington. Stayed there until my youngest was born, and I've been home since then. And then we also homeschool, which is hence the library involvement. I lead one of our local homeschool groups, it's a non-religious group. And so we spend a lot of time at the library. We are very heavy Npl users.
Thank you, Aaron. Caitlin, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I was born in Normal, and I've lived in Normal my entire life. So I really did not make it far. Was an avid Normal public library user as a kid, and all the way through high school. Went to Heartland and graduated from there. Went to ISU, graduated from there. So my background is in the sociology of health and aging with a minor in gerontology. After college, I worked for, during college I did, as I mentioned, work for the library. And then afterwards I worked for several aging care facilities, and we would, frequently use Normal Public Library services in that capacity. Then I kind of took a career change and started working for the Red Cross in disaster. And so disaster at Red Cross, you kind of have 2 jobs. You have your job in disaster and then your job when there's not a disaster going on. So when there is not a disaster going on, I'm in charge of all of the free programming for kids and adults on what to do in emergencies for the state of Illinois. And I work with several different libraries throughout the state to make sure that they're also a part of that free programming. And then during Gray Skies, I focus on information dissemination, data analysis, and GIS, which is like mapping various things. And so I do a lot of data analysis and project management during emergency states. And so I've gotten to work on emergencies all across the United States, but my primary focus is here in Illinois with a little bit in Iowa and Missouri. I'm also a heavy library user for my son. He's 5, and he will be starting this upcoming fall in Unit 5 for kindergarten.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. JD, and I hopefully you've got the person there with you. I thought I saw you pick up the extra special.
Leonidas is around here somewhere. He tolerated it for 12 seconds, and then he's like, Mom, no. No, this is not it. Oh, there he is. Do you want to say hello? No. All right, so, I'm a little combination of all of that. So I was born in Paxton, Illinois. It's about an hour east. Came here for ISU. Forgot to leave. Got married, got divorced. Beth, I'm sorry I have you beat because my boyfriend and I were taking it slow because of that. So it's been 12 years. Someday, probably not. I'm not good at that. Proud mother of 3 cats, Mishka, Taco, and Leonidas. So, but I've got a 20-year career in retail, and then someone took pity on me because I wanted my weekends back. So I ran the Heartland bookstore, and then I was in the Heartland business office, and then I did logistics for continuing ed, and now I do the purchasing for the college, and I'm very much looking forward to spending that $7 million for that grant. So, but yeah, I'm a big fan of disc golf and pickleball now, which I never thought I would ever say. So if anybody wants a game, come on out. That's it.
Thank you, JD. And going with this, Brian, would you like to share anything about you?
I think I bore them already about me.
Okay. So that's Brian's polite way of saying I would rather not. So we'll move on. And I will say my story is very similar to everyone else's. I grew up in a small community with a little Carnegie library with a little cannon out front down in Litchfield. And I came to Normal to go to ISU. And like so many people, the gravity, the pull seemed to get me in its orbit. When I was a student, I was actually in the Illinois National Guard as well. So I did my service. That's how I went through. So Beth, I appreciate you working on the vet courts. That's a newer thing that we have here. And so my academic background, my degrees are in history, and my day job is University Registrar, where I do a lot of archival record type work and registration and lots of boring things. But it turns out that my being in the National Guard is a good thing too, because I'm also the director of Veteran Military Services on campus. So when I'm not doing things with libraries, you would see me at the VAC, which is the Veterans Assistance Commission. I'm often there for their meetings and on that board as well. So, and I'm also someone who's blessed to have two librarians in his family. My in-laws both were librarians, one an academic, another children's librarian. So, and they're actually visiting right now because my youngest is graduating high school. So for many years, our children were Normal public library users, and often sometimes, along with dad, doing things at the book sales and things like that. So we've historically been a very library engaged family and continue to be so. So that hopefully gives both Linda and Beth a little behind the scenes peek at who you're going to be spending some time with here. And I feel very safe to say on behalf of everyone on the board, welcome, and we're very excited and pleased to have you here with us, and we look forward to all the wonderful things we're going to be able to do for our patrons, our community, by making Normal Public Library the best it can be.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so now let me take another quick look on the agenda here, and our next item is the COVID update. I don't think we have much on that one tonight, but Brian, anything we need to share?
Yeah. So we're in the process of loosening our parameters a little bit. So a few things are staying the same, a few things are changing. So we are changing our signage regarding masks. We've been trying to balance the CDC announcement with, we waited for the state announcement and the local. So instead of requiring masks of all users, we are encouraging masks of all users, and obviously trying to keep users of all ages healthy and safe is still our number one goal. That is similar to language that Bloomington Public Library now has. We're trying to remain similar to them also. We are not imposing the time limit any longer. So essentially we're stepping away from our grab and go scope of services. We feel that, given the vaccination rates, et cetera, we can move to the next level. So that feels good. Knowing that we can go back if we ever need to, if the numbers go the wrong direction, et cetera. Also, we've factored in what have we seen in terms of our patron behavior, and we think that patrons are doing a pretty good job of kind of abiding by their own sets of parameters and not being here long, keeping their mask on properly, et cetera. And we'll start adding some additional seating throughout the building, not adding all of our furniture back right now, but adding a few more tables and a few more seats. And we're changing our public computer time limit from 60 minutes to 90 minutes. We know there's a need there. We've been extending it anyway as needed, so we're just really making our parameters match our practices. We've loosened up things as we've eased back into more normal times, and we feel this is a good situation. Staff will continue to wear masks and social distance. Plexiglass dividers will remain in place. Hand sanitizer everywhere. Cleaning protocols don't change. The discovery room for the time being will keep out of service, mostly because it's full of all the children's furniture in that room, so that's an issue. And we continue to proactively offer services to patrons who don't yet feel comfortable coming in the library for whatever reason, just as we always do. So staff for promoting, browser packs, Kerbit, digital content, home delivery, online library card registration, et cetera. So that will all just continue forever. We think it's just where does it land? I think, to what extent. So, so we feel like that we're in a good situation. We watch the numbers every day just to be safe. It feels good. I think that this feels like a good step for us. We had an all-staff meeting yesterday, and I proposed these changes to all staff, and we had a good discussion, and we all felt good moving forward in this way. So,
did anyone else have a moment when he was talking about the storage in the discovery room, that there would be kids that would love to go in there, even with all that stuff in, just to crawl around and all the different chairs and everything balanced?
It's true. It would be fun to crawl around.
Poor nightmare.
My kid keeps talking about the discovery room, but I also know that is probably the spot most likely where someone's going to put something in their mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
It's
lick
tricky.
something.
It's a tricky, a lot of questions about it. We want to open it up. I'll add too, just so you're aware, what questions are we hearing? When can the public spaces be used again? They're full of furniture, et cetera. So we feel that we're taking a good measured approach for the community, and it's going to be a summer of transition, definitely. We're hoping fall, maybe some programming. We are doing story walks and that type of programming throughout the summer, and taking things home in bags, et cetera, to do crafts. We look forward to doing. We want to offer everything that we can. We're just trying to be careful, and we feel that this is a good next step for us.
So are you thinking fall for letting people reserve the community room?
I hope so. I hesitate to commit to it, but I hope so. Yeah, it's really full right now. All the main floor furniture is in the community room at the moment. So
if I remember too, before this occurred, I think we were starting to have some conversations about community room usage and guidelines and things like that.
yes.
Of course, this has now added an additional layer of to that process. So I just throwing that out for everybody too, to be thinking about, that as we get a little further into that, we had already been talking about how often, how many groups could use it, and trying to maximize the use of the most possible. Not all, at the same time allowing much access to everyone out there as could with different types of groups. So it's an odd balancing act. I think there's a lot of interest, at least pre-COVID, about some of that space and being able to use it more often. Is that what you remember as well, Brian, from the past?
Yes, yeah, just trying to find that balance of making it. We want it in use as much as possible. We're just trying to give a fair opportunity to get it. So that's what we're trying to balance. Yeah. I should mention too, we've talked a lot about hours. We still plan to close at 6 for the foreseeable future. We're very light still, honestly, in terms of traffic throughout the library. Our circulation is definitely heading the right direction. We do see fairly short visits though, for the most part. But talking about when we come out of this, we want to make one change to the hours. So, we don't want to ratchet up to like 7 and then 8 and then 9. So we're trying to figure out where do we want to land long term. And we were, pretty slow from 8 to 9 most evenings. We've talked about, is the best way to serve the community, maybe we stagger and we're open until 9, a couple nights a week, for example. Do we open earlier, a couple of days a week, for example? So we're having those discussions, but our hope is just to make one change to the hours, and I'll certainly reach out to the board for input as we get closer there. But given our pretty lean level of staffing still, we feel that 6 o'clock is okay right now. So.
What time is the library open? I don't even know.
9 a.m.
9.
Yeah, that's Monday through Saturday. We open at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Any questions about COVID-related items for Brian? If not, we'll move on to our next agenda item. Any suggested items for our next agenda for next meeting?
We'll talk about non-resident participation, which we do every June. That's just acknowledging that we would serve non-residents who are eligible to use this library as their home library if they live in an unserved area. So I'll provide some more background information on that next month.
Little fun fact, because of where we're physically located, there really isn't anyone, because we're surrounded by libraries. This is almost more of a pro forma piece, because we go in and set the amount. Sorry, having problems speaking all of a sudden. Ahead of the amount, and usually it's very simple. So just, it's kind of a neat idea, the fact that we are surrounded by libraries has been a good feeling that we're serving the community as well. But we still have to go through the motions and take a look at everything. So, with that, any other items for upcoming agenda? All right. Well, hearing none, just a reminder, as Brian pointed out, our next meeting is going to be June 16th at 6 o'clock. We'll get a reminder sent with our board packet. And with that, unless anyone has anything for the good of the order or any additional questions.
That meeting will be in person, Brian?
We anticipate that. So we're thinking that once we enter phase 5, meetings will be in person. That's not confirmed yet, but if numbers continue, I would say that's likely. And, we hope that's the case, certainly. I think, we'd be in the community room, still socially distanced, in the library. A fortunate thing for us is we don't have a lot of visitors typically, so that helps us gauge, in terms of the number of people in the room, et cetera. But what I've heard is following entering phase 5, then it's possible we'll go back to in-person. Well, by definition, I think we'd go back to in-person. So, yeah, be great.
All right. Well, hearing any other items for the good of the cause? Hearing none. Well, then I will adjourn us and say thank you to everyone for sharing your time with us tonight. And Linda, Beth, very excited to have you on board with us, and we're looking forward to working with you. And everyone have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and please do remember those who did lose their lives in service to our country this Memorial Day. So thank you all very much, everyone.
Thank you.